This video is how to catch huge catfish from the bank. All the catfishing tips you need right now. Awesome, let's get started right now so you can be a catfishing pro too. The number one thing to keep in mind about catfishing is that they all love baits that are high in fat, protein, and salt. Live bluegill for the flathead and tons of different meats and stinks for the channel and bullhead. Let's go through them all one by one, and you can try them all until you find a few that work best for you in your lake or pond. Okay, if you're targeting flathead catfish, their preferred food is a live bluegill, hooked up front since they will usually attack their prey head first. Make sure live bait fishing is legal, though, first in your state. Usually a gill in the 5 to 7 inch range will work best, and just make sure you've got a bigger, stronger spinning rod and reel with a good fiberglass backbone to absorb the fight the flathead is sure to give you. Now for channel and bullhead catfish. You may already know there are tons of different popular baits you can use to catch channels anywhere in the world, since catfish are found everywhere around the globe except Antarctica. So first, this bait is easy and cheap and readily available, and you can catch them yourself too like we do. The plump, juicy, live night crawler. We like to put 2 big worms on a 5/0 blood red octopus hook, and it won't take long for their scent and wiggle to be noticed. The catfish's whiskers or barbels are covered in taste buds with thousands all over their body too. So as soon as Mr. Wormy hits the water, it's game on. A real great tip is to keep your worms in the fridge year round. And you can feed them cornmeal lightly dusted on the top, and they'll live for months. Bait number 2 is something us old-time die-hard catfishermen have been using for years when nothing else seems to be working that day. Chicken liver. Pretty messy, smelly, and grotesque, but right up the channel's alley. Now, a great tip is to put chunks of it in a pair of pantyhose. It keeps the bait formed nicely, and you can stick the hook right through it. Make sure you hang on to your rod, though. Don't set it down because channels can smell this stuff from about 100 yards away. So if they're in there, they'll hit it fast as soon as it starts to disperse the scent into the water. They're going to find it, they're going to come after it, and they're going to hammer it like there's no tomorrow. Bait number 3 is always on the who's who list of channel catfish food and is stink bait. Just as bold and nasty as the name suggests. The most popular prepared stink baits are usually made out of the smelliest cheese, like Limburger or smelly feet, as well as old pulverized and pungent meats. Again, catfish have an extraordinary sense of smell, and their highly sensitive membranes in their nostrils can quickly detect all these compounds as soon as they're in the water. So when this mixture really makes you gag and hurl, you're ready to go fishing. Hey, anybody ready for lunch? Okay, bait number 4 is cut bait, with the most popular choice being cut shad. Although channel cats are not finicky, they'll eat just about anything if they're hungry and feeding. You can really cut up just about any type of bait fish, but just make sure it's good and smelly and spoiled, and more times than not, they'll eat it. A great tip is to take large chunks of old spoiled chicken, put them in glass bowls off of the ground so critters can't get to them, and let them marinate in the hot summer sun for many days. And when it seems like it's starting to move, she's ready to bait up and fish. Just use gloves if you have to when you're baiting it up, and hold on tight, baby. Bait 5 is my absolute favorite channel cat and bullhead bait, the lovely, frozen, cheese-filled hot dog. I have caught more catfish on this bait than all the previous 4 combined. True. It flat works, and the cheese, meat, and salt is irresistible to them. I catch them in ponds and many inland lakes here in Ohio like it's going out of style. Just keep them frozen because it's easier to keep it on the hook, and it'll allow you to throw it out farther into the deepest holes or pools in the lake. Trust me, folks, this is not an April Fool's joke, but you'd be a fool not to buy this brand of hot dogs, which are also cheaper than most other baits, and you'll catch more channels. We now know what to feed them, so let's cover how and where to catch catfish. Catfish, like many other fish, prefer low light conditions and can usually almost always be found hiding out in the deepest holes, pools, drop-offs, and ledges in the lake, especially holding close to any type of cover they can hide out in, like submerged trees and timber. Especially in your local pond, if you know where the deepest water is, just cast out to those spots using heavy sinkers and present all the baits we've talked about just off the bottom. The darker the hollows in the lake where they can hide in seclusion waiting to ambush their next meal, that'll always make the best honey hole. These bottom holes are catfish magnets. And especially if there's structure there too, they're not only a great resting space for the catfish, but it also triggers more feeding activity. Generally, catfish will stay in these deeper, cooler, darker spots during the day, especially if it's really sunny out, and then they'll move into the shallows at nighttime to feed more aggressively. Also, you probably already know that any type of riprap and strong current near dams and bridges always attracts bigger catfish because of the forage it stirs up. Another great approach to finding catfish is to focus on wind-blown shorelines that tend to concentrate food sources. That's where the baitfish will be feeding on what they eat for a living. And remember, if no hits in 15 to 20 minutes, just change spots, because with all these baits, they would have smelled them by now. Hopefully you're still with us and you've enjoyed the video so far and even gotten a few cool tips you can put into play at your home lake. Okay, so how do we outsmart the catfish and catch more of them than we do today? Well, to do that, we need to better understand their behavior, preferences, and patterns so we can give them what they want. That's ultimately the difference between fishing and catching. The catfish tends to be solitary rather than most fish like crappie, perch, and walleye who are found often in schools. They're most active at night, and that's when they prefer to move around a lot more and hunt for food. So many of the biggest trophy cats are many times caught in the dark of night. So again, we've mentioned that catfish are bottom-dwelling fish, so you can't catch them on the surface with topwater baits. And as we've mentioned, they're also very unique in that they don't have fish scales, but rather their whole body is surrounded by thousands of taste buds that they use to taste the water around them to find food and prey. So if you remember anything from this video, remember that their barbels and whiskers are how they find food, even in real muddy water. So the smellier the bait, the more fish you're going to catch. Okay, let's wrap this up. Make sure you have fun catching catfish and catch a lot of them if you're having your friends and family over for a fish fry. So, number one, never leave home without at least 2 large catfish rods in case one gets broke or gets dragged into the drink. Last but not least, use heavy 50-pound braided line and master the uni knot until you can tie it in your sleep. Catfish are very powerful. If you have a weak knot, you're going to lose the trophy we've worked so hard in this video to catch, and we don't want that to happen to you. Happy fishing, folks. Go get them. Okay, folks, thanks for watching. Please like this video, hit the subscribe button before you leave, and don't forget to enable your bell notifications so you never miss another great video coming your way.